law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
Their thing, and I was big man. That was the extent of our beef.
Hip-hop is staring down its biggest reckoning yet. And this time, the names in the crosshairs aren't just street rivals or shadowy figures lurking in the background. It's Jay-Z and Diddy, two of the industry's most powerful icons, ensnared in a net cast by none other than the FBI. In the last 24 hours, bombshell reports reveal that investigators have secured both video and audio evidence. Not rumors, not shaky bootlegs, but real recordings that sources claim place Jay-Z at the center of the plot that silenced Tupac Shakur in Los Angeles nearly 3 decades ago. When we say smoking gun, this isn't speculation about what Keefe D may have stashed in the back seat. These are direct tapes, allegedly capturing Jay-Z's hand in the orchestration itself. Now the entire hip-hop world is reeling from the aftershocks. Whispers have erupted into headlines, questions have become demands. And the looming question remains, is this the moment the world's most famous rap billionaire trades in his Maybach for a prison cell?
And you gotta figure, we never met.
So you and Tupac never met, that was just...
So it's nothing personal. Him and Big went through their thing.
The tension crackling through these corridors isn't just tabloid noise, it's a storm with teeth. FBI insiders are calling the evidence a chilling bombshell, so explosive that arrest warrants for Jay-Z are already being drafted. And Diddy, drowning in his own avalanche of legal chaos, is set to be standing shoulder to shoulder with him on that same list. This isn't the kind of rumor that dies in a meme cycle. This is the kind of revelation that sends entourages scattering into the shadows and drives corporate lawyers to pour whiskey before noon. The betrayal cuts deeper than business, it's personal, Shakespearean in scale. For decades, we've watched these two men climb, brick by brick, into the stratosphere. Platinum records, empires built on hustle, the gospel of grinding your way to the throne. But if these tapes are real, the foundation wasn't ambition, it was blood. The price of their crowns may have been the silencing of hip-hop's brightest flame, traded for the right to walk this earth as gods among mortals.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate, and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
And this is where the plot twists into something far more sinister than a street beef spiraling out of control. This wasn't revenge, it was business. Cold, calculated business. According to terrified insiders now whispering in corners, Jay-Z and Diddy were offered a deal, orchestrate the removal of Tupac Shakur, and in return, they'd be handed the keys to the kingdom. Limitless money, unstoppable influence, and the untouchable status of gods in hip-hop's backroom. The stakes, everything. The cost, unthinkable. If these revelations hold, the entire mythology of hip-hop moguls, the platinum crowns, the empires, the aura of invincibility, was built on the bones of the very man whose words once set the world on fire. And now the story takes on teeth. Whispers grow louder about a vault. Yes, a literal vault, hidden deep inside Jay-Z's Los Angeles mansion. Industry veterans swear it exists. A fortified room packed with confidential files, years of hush-hush recordings, and who knows how many blackmail trophies. Imagine it. Was Jay-Z not only part of the original orchestration, but also savvy enough to stockpile leverage, ensuring that every handshake, every rival, every potential betrayal stayed chained beneath his control? Were the power moves we applauded on the Grammy stage just the visible edge of an iceberg built from secrets and silence? Former associates are already hinting that the calm, untouchable, chess master persona wasn't just branding, it was insurance. If you ever wondered how Jay-Z kept his image spotless while those around him burned, the answer may lie locked inside that vault. The label remains silent, but insiders claim the FBI has already subpoenaed the blueprints.
I felt like, they had a whole lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in. Because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do.
But just when it feels like the scandal can't get any more surreal, the streets start buzzing with a twist straight out of a conspiracy thriller. What if Tupac Shakur never really left? For decades, Shakur truthers have chased grainy photos from Cuba to Belize, dissected cryptic lyrics, and analyzed shaky hotel footage. But this week, the whispers leapt from urban legend to front-page speculation. According to former Black Panther security officer Michael Nice, who once worked with Shakur's family, he was part of a covert operation that staged Tupac's escape. His claim: Shakur faked his own death and has been living quietly in Cuba under government protection. Before his own mysterious accident, Nice went on record with TMZ. Why do you think nobody's been arrested if they said they're the one that did it? Because Shakur's not gone. And he didn't stop there. He alleged he had video evidence of Fidel Castro himself approving the operation, complete with a body double swap and strict survival rules. Keep your head down, stay silent, never confess, and wait. As unbelievable as that sounds, the possibility of Shakur's return is what's sending shockwaves through the industry. Because now, some insiders say the FBI's sudden moves aren't just about putting Jay-Z behind bars or dragging Diddy through another perp walk. It's about setting the stage for a final act no one predicted. Tupac Shakur alive, stepping out of the shadows to testify. Imagine it. All these years the world mourned. While Diddy built his empire and Jay-Z inked billion-dollar NFL deals, Shakur may have been lying low, waiting for the perfect moment to blow the roof off hip-hop's darkest secret. For his fans, it wouldn't just be survival, it would be vindication. The ultimate resurrection. And the rumors don't stop there. A private investigator named Jimmy Poole claims to have photographs of Shakur alive and well in Belize, including one image showing a man who looks uncannily like a 40-something Tupac posing with a fan.
Yes, on your own platform. He said this on your platform that he put up $1 million to get Pac here.
Yeah, correct. He was around Puffy, and Puffy made a comment when they was around, yeah.
Industry insiders are sweating bullets, and for good reason. If Tupac Shakur were to step back into the spotlight and take the stand, it wouldn't just be Jay-Z and Diddy with targets on their backs. It would unravel the entire culture of silence that has shielded hip-hop's power players for decades. The unspoken rules about who gets protected and who gets sacrificed would be dragged into the light. Because think about it. What happens if the man they try to erase suddenly reappears to name names and expose the architects of his supposed demise? Is hip-hop ready for its founding myth to be shattered live on national television? What happens when the voice they silenced finally speaks? And what might those vaults, those tapes, reveal about the true cost of building a legacy on betrayal? Meanwhile, the conspiracy machine is spinning faster than ever. Fans and skeptics alike are revisiting Tupac's own words, especially his Makaveli album, where he alluded to faking his death, channeling Machiavelli himself, and leaving behind cryptic warnings the world ignored. The questions stretch all the way back to '96. Why did the coroner's report list Shakur as taller and heavier than he really was? Why did the man responsible for his cremation retire the very next day and vanish forever? And why did Shakur's own mother drop cryptic hints that her son had chosen to leave quietly rather than die? The streets remembered then, and they're remembering now. The whispers are no longer whispers, they're a drumbeat.
I'm not gonna live, past a certain time, or, I know I'm gonna get shot up. He knew that. That was, the one thing that he did know.
As the scandal continues to unravel, everything we thought we knew about hip-hop's biggest icons is being ripped apart. Jay-Z, the man who always seemed to have the answers, the calm strategist pulling strings from the shadows, now looks less like the player and more like a pawn in someone else's game. Diddy, long seen as untouchable, the mogul who always managed to stay one step ahead of scandal, now finds his empire crumbling. Mounting criminal charges are stripping away his Teflon shield, leaving his legacy teetering on the edge. And then there's Tupac. If the whispers are true, the man they tried and failed to silence is still out there, waiting in the wings, waiting to reclaim his story. The eyes of the world are on him, and the entire house of cards that hip-hop was built upon is trembling, ready to collapse.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
With every passing hour, the pressure mounts. The music industry is bracing for a spectacle unlike anything it's ever seen. Rival executives are reportedly lawyering up. Old friends are vanishing from public view, and social media is spiraling with leaked texts and secondhand stories from anyone who ever sat in a studio session with the accused. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking. The FBI's next move could detonate the biggest secret hip-hop has ever buried. And as the world's eyes lock on Jay-Z and Diddy, another name refuses to fade into the background: Suge Knight. No matter how far investigators dig into vault rumors or whispered testimonies, Suge's shadow looms large. Was he the mastermind, the puppet, or something in between? This is a man who built his legacy in Los Angeles as a ruthless operator, a figure both feared and admired. He was never the one catching the bullets, but always the one making sure his enemies felt the fire. Now, as the spotlight burns through every old alibi, Suge's role is back under the microscope. Not just as the man riding shotgun the night Tupac was gunned down, but as someone who may have been pulling strings on both sides of the board, playing a game only he knew the rules to.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
We can't overlook the fact that Suge Knight always seemed to weather every storm. Federal raids, bankruptcies, industry blacklists, he survived them all. Some insiders now suggest Suge wasn't just a player in the game, but the one pulling strings from the shadows, pitting Diddy and Jay-Z against each other and fueling the East Coast, West Coast feud to serve his own ambitions, while letting others take the fall. And this new wave of scrutiny isn't just fueled by bloggers or hip-hop old heads on YouTube. It's backed by recently unsealed court documents and hours of grand jury testimony. One former associate, who insisted on anonymity, claimed Suge knew more than anyone else and deliberately fed both sides just enough rope to hang themselves. Even when Suge went down on unrelated charges, he refused to go quietly. He hinted to reporters that justice for Shakur was still coming, and from behind bars, he dropped cryptic messages, pointing to Keefe D, to Diddy, always circling back to the same prophecy: someone would pay. And now, in this latest chapter, Suge's presence feels less like the search for answers and more like a grim guarantee that when the dust settles, no one, not Jay-Z, not Diddy, not anyone, will walk away clean.
If you look at it, they committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong.
The legal net is tightening everywhere, but nowhere does the trail look more damning than around Diddy. For years, the industry has been flooded with whispers, envelopes of cash changing hands, bodyguards suddenly switching sides, shadowy deals whispered in the back rooms of platinum parties. Most of it easy to dismiss as rumor. But now, federal investigators are following the money, and what they're uncovering has even the most hardened industry veterans stunned. According to Keefe D, who has openly admitted his role in the Shakur shooting, Diddy allegedly offered a staggering $1 million to ensure Tupac was silenced for good. "Man, I want to get rid of them dudes," Diddy reportedly said, according to Keefe's taped police interview. The payout, the meetings, the contract, it's all there. Not in gossip blogs or street corner talk, but in court filings, transcribed and preserved for the world to see. This isn't speculation anymore. The paper trail is real, and it may be the evidence that finally strips away the last of Diddy's protection.
Named Diddy 77 times in court documents related to Tupac's murder.
4 years, Diddy's image was untouchable, a business mogul, the ultimate party host, a pop culture icon. He was the man who danced in the rain, clinked glasses with presidents, and gave movie stars a borrowed dose of cool. His brand was unity, collaboration, and the language of peace. But what happens when that image collides with the possibility that the same man may have bankrolled the most infamous hit in music history, silencing Tupac Shakur to clear the board for his own empire? Fans are left questioning everything. Was any of it ever real? We've already watched Diddy's slow-motion fall from grace. Human trafficking indictments, racketeering charges, lawsuits piling high, each one peeling back another layer, leaving behind broken NDAs and betrayed collaborators. And now, the FBI has shifted its focus to the money. Investigators are digging through financials, tracking every mysterious wire transfer, every shadowy studio expense. With each discovery, the possibility of even more arrests grows heavier, hanging over not just Diddy, but the entire empire he built.
And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, bro.
But the question stretches far beyond a single contract. If that $1 million hit was real, who else stood to gain? Did the money stop with Keefe D and his crew? Or was there a wider web of payoffs, insurance, and silence that stretched into boardrooms, record labels, and maybe even law enforcement itself? One industry veteran, speaking off the record, warned, if they ever open up Diddy's old ledgers, you'll see names you'd never expect. The authorities haven't said as much, but their silence is deafening, louder than the headlines themselves. A payout this large, this calculated, doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes accomplices, which means the real question isn't if the dominoes will fall, but how far beyond the familiar faces they'll topple. And yet, beneath the court filings and breaking news updates, another thread has gripped fans and conspiracy theorists for decades: the hidden messages inside Tupac's own music. Some argue that the greatest clues to this entire mystery aren't buried in FBI vaults, but in the verses and visuals of his posthumous album, The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory. Released just weeks after Shakur's supposed death, the album triggered a frenzy of decoding. Every lyric, every image was dissected like a cipher, as if Pac had left behind a coded confession. Theories swirled around the alias, Makaveli, a direct nod to Niccolò Machiavelli, the Italian strategist who famously wrote about faking one's own death to outwit enemies. Even the album title itself became legend. Rearranged, Makaveli could read as a haunting message: AM Alive K. What once felt like bravado now looks like prophecy, or perhaps a final breadcrumb trail for those still searching for the truth.
You know, he liked to give to a lot of people. He liked to help whoever it was that he could. But a lot of people didn't get a chance to see that.
Entire online communities have spent years dissecting Tupac's words, convinced he left a trail of breadcrumbs in plain sight. They combed through tracks like Bomb First and Hail Mary, hearing echoes of betrayal, surveillance, and shadowy enemies. The line between art and autobiography blurs, with Shakur using his music to warn us, in real time, about who was coming for him and how deep the double cross went. Even the album's cover art fed the fire. Shakur crucified, eyes open and unbroken, as if foreshadowing not just his suffering, but his escape, or his eventual return. Fans point to Blasphemy, where he raps about false friends and the dangers of speaking the truth. Today, those bars sound less like bravado, and more like a veiled call-out to the very figures now emerging in federal filings. Every lyric is picked apart like evidence, each line treated as if it might unlock the bigger conspiracy. And that's what makes the legend so enduring. When courts and FBI investigations can't deliver closure, the music itself becomes the testimony, a public record written in metaphor and myth. So the question lingers: did Tupac really predict the plot to erase him? And did he leave behind a coded confession for the day when all the secrets finally surfaced? That possibility haunts every new headline, every leaked document, every rumor. For fans, it fuels the hope that one day, whether in a courtroom or from a recording booth, the truth will finally drop.
Well, he was when he first approached me, he was very nice, very gentle, and a lot of people, the perception of that he had out there was a negative one, but he never at once, anytime, gave me a negative perception of him at all.
As the scandal unfolds, it's impossible to forget that the bond between Diddy and Jay-Z once looked unshakable. Two titans who shared stages, million-dollar brunches, and even weathered criminal trials shoulder to shoulder. But that alliance is crumbling. Jay-Z is now in full survival mode, cutting legal ties, denying everything with increasing urgency, while Diddy sits in a cell, buried under a rap sheet so long it could have its own Wikipedia entry. The billionaire-era partnership, once the crown jewel of hip-hop, is cracking under the weight of decades of secrets. Now, the headlines aren't about platinum records or champagne toasts. They're about Diddy's infamous freak-offs, rumors of blackmail vaults, and evidence that the line between hip-hop glory and underworld power was always paper-thin. And it's not just these three giants, Jay-Z, Diddy, and Tupac, whose legacies hang in the balance. The mere possibility of Shakur's return, ready to testify, has already sent shockwaves through the industry. Whispers suggest his testimony could bring down everyone who touched this conspiracy, from former security chiefs to retired executives now hiding in quiet suburban mansions. Even Suge Knight, the last man standing in a room full of ghosts, could be dragged back under the spotlight for one final reckoning. And hovering over it all is the most chilling possibility of all: more tapes, phone calls, studio surveillance, video evidence buried in vaults across Los Angeles and New York, waiting for the right moment to blow everything wide open.
Jay-Z got his ass whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got his ass. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
We can't overlook the psychological toll this is taking. For millions, Tupac was a hero, Diddy was the soundtrack to every party, and Jay-Z was the blueprint for ambition. Now the ground itself feels like it's cracking. If the stories are true, If justice finally lands, what happens to hip-hop when its founding fathers are put on trial? Not just for what went down on the Vegas Strip, but for building an empire on lies? Is it time for a new generation to seize the mic? Or are we on the edge of the greatest comeback in music history, Shakur himself stepping forward as the last truth-teller left standing? Every leak, every court filing, every rumor of a Shakur sighting or hidden vault pulls us closer to an ending no one predicted. Will the FBI finally drop the receipts? Is this the collapse of an era, or the beginning of a darker, messier chapter? And how many more names are about to fall as the real story breaks open? So we leave the question with you. Who's really calling the shots, and who's next to get caught in the crossfire? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below, because this saga is far from finished. Keep your eyes open, your playlist loaded, and your curiosity sharp. The next bombshell could land any second.